Back at it again. This one going to be a general neutral guide, and then the next video I release should be a Marisa specific neutral guide. Going to look at some Big Bird matches and just kind of look at what he picks in neutral, and we'll kind of explore those options. But this video going to be more of a general neutral guide, not necessarily this is what footsies is, this is how you play footsies. It's just going to be like, hey, what are all the things you can do in neutral? What do they beat? Why would you pick them? Right? That's kind of the goal here. So going to look at a couple different options. Very first option we're going to look at is everybody's favorite thing to do, jumping. So why would you jump? Well, you jump because you think you're going to do something committal. Like you think Marisa's going to charge Gladius, so you jump at her, right? You think somebody's going to throw a fireball, so you jump at them, right? That's why you jump. It's super common. Now, obviously, you have to be careful, because if I don't do the high commitment option, if I'm just waiting for it, I will still, fail the anti-air. But you just anti-air, right? If you're just looking for it specifically, you can pick whatever your anti-air is. You do DP, crouch fierce, whatever, right? It's really common and popular at low levels because it simplifies the neutral game, turns it into a either I punish you or you punish me kind of a thing. It's also a chance for you to like land the combos you've been practicing and seen on the internet and things like that. But you do have to be careful, okay? So the way you beat jumping, just wait for it. You look for it, right? How do you beat people that are trying to beat jumping though, right? That's kind of the next level of it, right? So say you're jumping at this guy, or this guy's jumping at you, but say you're jumping at this guy and he just keeps anti-airing you. It's like, okay, what do you do now? Because we need to have more options than just up forward, right? So what's something we can do? Well, something we can do is pick a different neutral skipping burst option, like a dash, right? It's like, oh, if we're waiting for the jump, oh no, now he dashed up and I got thrown, right? However, as you see there, dashes are pretty reactable in this game, right? It's like, okay, wait for the dash, jabbing. Okay, so you kind of beat him the same way, but what's good about it is it's a different approach option, right? If I just have him to mix this up here, right? Like even there, I just jabbed, right? You can react to two different things, but it's a little bit harder, right? You see that anti-air happened a little bit later. Like you can react to two things, but it's harder, right? So the idea is you just give them something else to think about, okay? Alternatively, if dashing is not your thing, if you want to spend a little meter, drive rush, a great option, isn't it? Okay, you see if I try to react with anything, I'm getting counter hit. Maybe not anything, but I have to react pretty fast. And if you mix that in with dashing and jumping, whole thing becomes a nightmare. So just even with those three options, where you're refusing to play footsies and you're not playing real Street Fighter, you can mix it up and just make it hard for people to deal with you constantly rushing them down. I'm not necessarily saying this is a long-term stable strategy, because I think good players will be able to beat this, but at low levels, it's really strong to just give people 3, 4, 5 things to think about. That's that phrase mental stack that you hear about, right? But how do we deal with this, right? If you're not Punk and you don't just have godlike reactions, what do you do with this? Well, one thing you can do is just throw out pokes. So say somebody's just dashing and drive rushing at you, let's just throw out medium kick. Let's just throw out medium kick. I'm just gonna keep pushing medium kick. Doesn't matter what he does, I'm gonna keep pushing medium kick. Right, just keep pushing medium kick. Just gonna do it. Right, just control the space, right, just do that. Now, this isn't very rewarding, but it's completely shutting down his ground approach. Right, he can't walk up on me, he can't dash up on me. Just shuts him down. So pokes are very good for that. Poke for me is generally something that you don't really care if it hits or if it's blocked. You're not worried about getting conversion off of it. You just want to be able to control the space in front of you, right? Just like that. You want him to not dash. You want him to not drive rush. You just want the space here to be occupied. So if you notice that that's what the opponent's looking for, they're looking to dash, they're looking to just get in on you, throwing stuff out like this, very good option, okay? Alternatively, if you want something with a little bit more reward, you'll throw out a buffer, right? So if you're not familiar with the term, a buffer is when you do a move that you can cancel and you just do the special move input behind it. So here you see I'm doing crouch medium punch and then quarter circle forward light kick. That gives me this if it hits, okay? Now, the important thing about a buffer is you want to do it outside of the range where the move will hit. Because you don't just want to do this all the time, because if they block it, you're punishable. Apparently I haven't set the DI on block, who knew? Okay, because if they block it, you're punishable, okay? -6. A lot of people do this with like, let's see, Kami Spiral Arrow or something like that, right? Where it's not necessarily a move you want people to block up front, right? You just do a buffer, okay? You do it outside of the range so that it only hits if they do something to come into your space, like walk forward, dash forward, drive rush forward, anything like that, okay? Do it outside of the range, and the special move automatically comes out. You don't have to react to it, right? So pokes and buffers, great to control the space in front of you, okay? And if it's a low commitment poke or buffer, you can maybe even still, right? Maybe even still anti-air. See if he'll jump at me. That traded, right? So that's the idea. You do something that's kind of low commitment, and all of a sudden I'm covering all those options, right? So that's it then. This is completely unbeatable. Marisa just stands here, you know, just crouches here and does this. What do you do? Well, obviously you want to whiff punish, right? So we'll see if it's hard to get the CPU to do this, because he's not obviously reacting to me. Let me do it with a different button. There we go. So the idea here is if he knows that you're just going to throw out a poke, right? What's he going to do? Well, he's going to do, now this is, in my mind, what we call footsies, right? This is walk into the range where you know they want to hit a button, and then walk out of it. And if they push anything, attack them, right? Best case scenario, you get a whiff punishing into a combo. Worst case scenario, they block something and you're kind of up close and you get to scramble and play a fighting game, right? So the idea there is if your opponent's just throwing pokes and buffers, stop doing the burst options that get crushed by it. Just walk in to the range where you know they're uncomfortable you being. Take a step back outside of that range, and if they pushed anything, smack them in the head, right? That's the goal. Now, what if they're just going to try to counter poke you and whiff punish you? What do? Well, you do what's you call walk in block. Ryu here is kind of just emulating if I'm going to whiff punish him. Or excuse me, he's trying to whiff punish me. What do you notice? He's refusing to push a button because he's waiting for me to push a button. Where is he now? He's in the corner, right? So the idea is if they're just waiting to counter poke you, right? If they're just waiting for you to whiff a button so they can punish you, just don't press. Just walk them forward. Walk at them. Walk at them. Walk at them. That's all you got to do, right? And it's like, okay, well, what does Ryu do then? Well, what Ryu does then is he just walks up. We'll say maybe now Ryu's waiting for me to whiff. We'll say this, right? Something else. Say maybe Ryu's walk blocking and I'm waiting for him to whiff. What do? We just wait for him to walk forward and you throw him. Boom. Right? Well, how do you beat people that are trying to walk up and throw you, right? Well, you poke. Or you do burst option. Or you jump, right? So that's sort of the overall structure of options. Now, what you want to be doing when you're in a match is you want to be figuring out what your opponent's looking for, right? And then you want to pick options that are going to beat it. So if you notice that you're playing against a player that just loves to jump all the time, just wait for him in anti-air, right? That's kind of the goal. If you're noticing somebody wants to dash you all the time, stick out some buffers or do some pokes, right? If you notice that this person just wants to do pokes all the time, right? They're just standing here trying to hit buttons. Walk into the range, walk out, whiff punish, right? If you notice you're playing against somebody that just wants to try to whiff punish you, well, you either walk and block or you go to one of those burst options we were talking about, right? If they're waiting for you to commit to something, either do something fast that you don't think they're expecting, or don't commit to anything. Just make them put themselves in the corner, right? And that's the idea. So I don't really think of it as, you know, RPS. I just sort of think about it as the cycle of options. Now, good players will go, okay, this guy's jumping a lot, or I've been jumping at him, so now he's looking to anti-air me. So I'm going to dash at him, right? Like that's what, you know, different, you know, strength level players will do. They'll be like, okay, I'm going to beat the thing that he's doing. Now your adaptation will be to go, okay, I'm going to beat the thing. My next option will be to pick the option that'll beat what I'm currently doing, right? So if you're waiting to anti-air, expect him to dash at you, right? At least if you're playing somebody that you think is a strong player. This felt a little rambly to me. Hopefully it was helpful. There should be a general, a Marisa neutral guide up here, either late this week or early next week. I'm trying to do a video per week. It's kind of my plan. I think I can stick with that in the long term. As always, hope this was helpful. Have a good time.